in the rain, falling like the grace of God. Beauty in the flame, burning like the love of God. Beauty in the wind, taking our bend and sway. Hear the children laugh, running like the beauty of the day. Beauty in the heart, radiating tenderness. Beauty in the eyes, you see the longing to be blessed. Beauty in the mind, shining with the love that heals. Hear the voice within, telling of the beauty of the real.
Good morning. Please join me in a breath. Let's have another. Feel that breath gather you in. Feel that breath gather you into alignment with just this moment, gathering in thoughts, the emotions associated with those thoughts, from the disparate times that you let those thoughts abide when they have been left to their own devices, past instances you would like to be different, future moments you would like to control, letting all of that fall away, at least for that breath, and allowing yourself to arrive here, to make yourself available to the generosity of this moment. This is how we start the process, the ritual of building church together each week. I also kindle some flame each week, a reminder visually of whatever that is within us, that we refer to as the light, oftentimes that is eternal, at least we suspect, and yet sometimes feels dimmed. And so we gather together like this, virtually, with friends through the week, however it is we are called to gather, so that flame can be kindled again. Sometimes it's because of something that is offered to us, and sometimes it is that which we have offered to another, and I say that every week so that we remember. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here this morning to be about this work of building church, even though we're not building church in one place. As we used to be used to, we are now quite used to building church in this space, from right where we find ourselves. While it is not the way we maybe have preferred to do so over our lives, it is certainly for me a blessing to know we continue to do it and that we can do it wherever we find ourselves. So I'm glad we're doing it here and now in this way. If you were here last week, you heard me share some words from David Brooks from an opinion piece that he wrote for the New York Times. I want to bring attention to that quote again this morning, a different part than last week. I'm going to share with you both parts, what we will consider this morning a little more in depth, as well as what we considered last week as a bit of context for that. He wrote, "Those little acts, giving fruit to each other, turn out to be tremendously fortifying. Feeling like you have a sense of purpose, it turns out, is not just about the big commitments, but also the small gifts exchanged with those middle ring friends." He then goes on, "I'm also convinced that the second half of this year will be more fantastic than we can imagine right now. We are going to become hyper appreciators, savoring every small pleasure, living in 1,000 delicious moments, getting together with friends and strangers, and seeing them with the joy of new and grateful eyes." Last week I focused on that that second section. That's the living in the moment that is a little bit leaning forward, the anticipation of what we're aimed at. This week I want us to settle into the first part about those small acts, the gifts of fruit that we exchange. I don't know what middle ring friends means. I looked it up. The internet won't tell me. I do, though, know that the little acts, the giving of fruit to each other, is incredibly fortifying, which is what we looked at last week a bit, but only insofar as it got us to the second half of the year, and I want us to draw back. I want us to sit straight into the moment this week. And so let us consider more deeply and consider maybe a little more broadly what it might take to make that a practice in our lives, something that we can live into right now. For now, let's check in with each other just a bit using the chat in Facebook as well as the comments in Facebook or the chat in Zoom. And if you're on Facebook, one of the things that is important, impactful about sharing at these times is that when folks watch the video later, they can connect with you, across time because they'll see your comments rise up. So I love when you also choose to share, and I also go check those out later. But what I would encourage you to share this morning is something delightful that you did this week. Something delightful that you might inspire someone else to enter into delight, and that you might feel some appreciation for that delight you had, which is almost like having it again. And so please do that in the chat or the comments on Facebook, something you enjoyed doing, something that brought you a flash of joy. So I'm looking at these as they come up, of course. And I won't read them to you because if you're in Zoom, you'll see them. And if you're on Facebook, then you have the whole list of comments there that I trust are flying up. And even if you're watching this after Sunday morning, put it in the comments because people will see it. But what I love is that it's a mix of active things out in the world and active rest, active intentional rest, playing in the dirt, corpse pose, sleeping in your own bed, which maybe needs the context of Sean Wolbert recently moved. She's not just been sleeping in other people's beds, just in case you wondered. We also talked about earlier that we think that the CIA in her ID on Zoom is probably not the CIA, and if it is, she's a really bad spy. Sorry, Sean, if we're judging your spy work, but you shouldn't put CIA in your title if that's not, in fact, the bank where you're working now. And so I love the mix of active endeavors and the things that are intentional rest. Intentional rest is such an incredible way for us to take care of each other. As you continue to share and to see what other folks are sharing, which I hope you will do, I'm making a shift. I'm making a shift in this announcements business because all the things we're doing are listed. They're listed in the world. And I think that hearing me say them over and over is probably not very exciting. So I've put a link in the chat. If you're watching on Facebook, the link is already in the description of that video, which is just the Church Within's page with events after it, which is where everything is listed. If you're not on Facebook and don't care to be on Facebook, you can also sign up for the weekly email if you haven't, which you can do by going to thechurchwithin.org and scrolling down, and you'll see to sign up for it. And everything comes out. And currently, it's just the things that are on repetition: book clubs, Wisdom Circle, Tuesday Night Touch Point, Sunday mornings, all of those things. And then periodically other things will pop up. So keep an eye out. That is part of participating, is our taking active steps to see what's going on. What I will tell you by way of announcements is that we are moving into that wonderful, David Barnard has just put in the chat, nature has woken, which is exactly where I'm headed. Nature has woken, and now we have to tend with it. And so if you're interested in helping with mowing at the church. The more people who are on that team, the larger the rotation, which means the fewer times you have to do it over the summer. Everything is provided. There's an electric mower at church, all this stuff. Nature is woken and she is calling us, care for the grass. And so that's what I would like to share. My email, I'm putting it in the chat here. If you're on Facebook, you can easily find me and message me there. My email is darren.chittick@yahoo.com. I'm not going to be on it until Tuesday, but I will be on it Tuesday. And if you're interested in volunteering, you can reach out to me and we will work on setting up a scheduled rotation for that. Oh, Marcia. Marcia just has responded that while nature has woken, we'll need to change her diaper soon. And I guess that's lawn mowing, but now it's very vivid in my mind and I'm not as excited about it as you might imagine. One of the things that I've been thinking about a lot, partially because I'm a planner and partially because it's a really good escape from the just staying home with the dog every day, is what we will do when we gather again in service. And one of the things that I've become aware of is that this interaction time is very new for us, right? Like it's taken some work to kind of draw in using the chat and the conversations that happen on Facebook and Tuesday night touch points, just socializing. But during service, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it, and I'm just trying to imagine how we can continue this kind of conversational time together, as opposed to me just standing up front and saying things at you. And I don't know what it'll look like, but I hope we can figure it out together. So if you have ideas, that is a baby I would like us to birth together. I was speaking with a friend yesterday who's a consultant and is brilliant, who said it would be a mistake for you to start back at the church within whenever you start back in person and just try to recreate what you were before all this started, right? I'm never going to say this happened for a reason. Please don't ever hear that in my words. Please don't ever hear it in my words. What I know is we are meaning makers and that we have been in incubation of some sort during all this, and that will continue. And what I want is for us to enter into the next version of who we are as a people. And so keep all that in mind. Keep all that in mind as we start coming together again when it is time. Let's take a breath. Let's allow our times to rest into a time of, I don't know what I just said because I was moving my tablet. Let's allow ourselves to rest into a time of meditation and prayer, first with music from Mark Proctor, and then words from Mary Van Oy. Very excited to have your first Sunday morning meditation, friend.
Inspired, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inspired, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warn them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. Pulling weeds, picking stones, we are made of greens and bones. Feel the need is to grow my own till the time is close ahead. Grain for grain, sun and rain, find my way in nature's chain. Tune my body and my brain to the music of the land. So inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. So inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warn them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. Till the rain comes tumbling
Good morning. At the Church Within, we meditate to quiet our minds and to become centered, to connect to Spirit and to each other. We bring our awareness to love's presence in and around us. We recognize that we are love and can be love in any circumstance, in any situation. Let's begin. Let us get comfortable in our seats, and if it feels right, close our eyes, feeling our sit bones making contact with our seats, sinking into the chair, the couch, the floor, sinking into the earth. Let us take a deep breath together. And now let us rest in our own being with a soft heart and a gentle, self-compassionate attitude. Notice our breath now. Do not change it. Just notice the rising and falling of our bellies, of our chest, the in and out of the breath. And when our mind goes elsewhere, with loving kindness, come back to noticing the breath, the rising and falling of our bellies, our chest, the in and out of the breath. Spirit, lead us to the place in our souls where there is tranquility, peace, and calmness, where the waters are so still we can walk on them with you holding our hands and leading the way. Allow our gentle spirits of love, kindness, and gentleness be gifts we give to ourselves so that we can give them to others to infiltrate and infect the land. Let this giving spread like wildfire across our community, across the world. The gifts of love, kindness, and gentleness. And we can bring ourselves back to this time and place, feeling ourselves fully in our seats. The Church Within was founded in prayer, and there are many people ready to pray with you. If you have a need, you can make your request known to the prayer team by going to the link in the chat today or by visiting the webpage at thechurchwithin.org.
I have reached a point in my life, I might even say finally reached a point in my life, excuse me, where I have not spent more than half of my working life in restaurants, in restaurant work, in service work. While there is much I do not miss about that work, it was grueling labor, to be sure. There are some golden moments that I wouldn't mind experiencing again. My first server trainer was a woman named Lane. And as I was thinking about her and my time working with her, I realized that she was also, besides my first server trainer, my first mindfulness coach, my first mindfulness teacher. She didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time. Looking back, though, I see that this was true. Lane was my trainer at the Wabash Country Club. You'll likely never have heard of it. It is a big deal in Wabash, Indiana. You may also not have heard of Wabash, Indiana, so the Big Deal Country Club may not ring true to you as an exciting moment in anyone's life. It is, like many such places, located in the middle of a golf course rather. The course is designed by some famous golf course designer whose last name is Hill, which I thought was really funny. The clubhouse is a very old, very lovely, arguably haunted mansion that was originally built as a private movie studio for Mark C. Honeywell, whose last name is very likely on a thermostat that you have used. It is a rather incredible building. The internet tells me that it is in the Tudor Revival style. I don't know what that means, although I guess I have some idea because I spent a lot of hours in that building. What Lane taught me about serving included this. Some tables will want you to be part of the evening, breaking the ice, bringing humor and ongoing engagement in small talk when you're at the table. Other tables will want you to be a silent partner throughout their meal, taking care of what they need before they ask for it. You have to learn to recognize what kind of table you're at and serve them accordingly. She taught me to anticipate needs with that mindfulness training that neither of us recognized as mindfulness training. She pointed out the cues I could notice so that people had what they needed right before they knew they needed it. Because of Lane, I became a very good server. Part of what I miss about that work is the golden feeling that comes with matching my offerings to the needs of a table. I miss knowing that I gave good service. I miss the full body satisfaction that comes with seeing on their face that they've had an exceptionally good time through the course of the meal because I was present and able to do my best for them. I don't wait tables anymore, but I still notice all those cues when I'm out in the world. Not just the cues about table service, but the cues people give when they need something. And I offer it where I can, when I can. And I'm almost always met with, how did you know that is what I was looking for? And I respond, I was a waiter. When I read David Brooks' line, those little acts giving fruit to each other turn out to be tremendously fortifying, I thought about those feelings. And when I read the next line, feeling like you have a sense of purpose, it turns out, is not about the big commitments, but also the small gift exchanges you have with your middle ring friends. I knew in my whole body, the ground in which much of my struggle over the last year has been rooted. The thing about waiting tables is it's finite. It is a finite contract. It is a short story with a beginning and a middle and an end. And over the last year, every story has been an epic story. Finding the small moments of fortifying generosity has been a bit of a struggle, at least for me, because the odyssey of the pandemic has been constantly looming. The long journey across the sea toward equity in this country never ending, and the political landscape has created this sense of constant tension among people who can barely be in the same room because of COVID and don't want to be in the same room because of ideology. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. The only times I don't feel so tired are those moments when I find a way to turn my attention to something new, something fresh, or something out of ordinary living. Because as Brooks points out, work can't be all of that for any of us. I share that only because I suspect you've had maybe some similar moments. And if you've been attending to yourself through this, you could list some right now on both sides of that fence. It is important that we attend to ourselves, though, lest we become convinced that all of life is an epic travail. It is not. It is not. I've been harping on this a bit. I still think the big stuff is important. As I pointed toward last week, though, life focused only on the big stuff is untenable at best. We decide, of course, what the big stuff is, and that's a whole process all of its own. I kind of beg that you not dismiss or trivialize this contemplation of this morning by deciding the devil needs another advocate. There is real work we can do here, and it is the work that will find us in a much more solid state of generous kinship when it is time to gather again. It will find us well able to take the first step out of the gates when the time comes. As I said last week, if we treat these next months as the final steps in a long race, pistoning our feet into the pavement as we topple past the finish line, we'll find ourselves too spent to lift that first refreshing glass of water to our lips, and this long thirst we have built up will go unquenched. I'm going to read those words again without the dog walking across the floor. He's such a lovely reminder. If we treat these next months as the final steps in a long race, pistoning our feet into the pavement as we topple past the finish line, we'll find ourselves too spent to lift that first refreshing glass of water to our lips, and this long thirst we have built up will go unquenched. That is what is at stake. Let's take a breath. In an interview on ABC News, Eckhart Tolle said, "Many people live habitually as if the present moment were an obstacle that they need to overcome in order to get to the next moment." Imagine living your whole life like that again, he said. Many people live habitually as if the present moment were an obstacle that they need to overcome in order to get to the next moment. Imagine living your whole life like that. He didn't even know about 2020 when he said that. As much as I want Brooks' words to invite us forward, I want them to invite us in. Into what? Just now. Just now. Like you, I imagine, I am feeling a burst of energy that wants to get out, go do all the things. I'm holding myself back because I just got my second vaccine shot yesterday, and I'll continue to hold back because the need for slow going is evident. But I feel the energy. I feel the energy. I don't know what trees feel at all, but I can't help but imagine it like that first burst of sap pushed up into the trunk of a maple as the weather turns warm during the day and cold at night. There is a sweetness to what will come. And that promise is an excellent temptation to simply tolerate the now as an obstacle. Oh, Eckhart. The remedy to that is, in large part, curiosity. I believe that wholeheartedly. Last week, I shared the story of my time at the Pesach Tower at Costco, what I'm also now referring to as the Passover Island. Just in case you weren't here, the gist of it is that I was looking at the special foods put out for Passover Seder because I enjoy a bit of matzah from time to time. I now have 5 pounds of it. Matzah is very light, so I have a lot of matzah. And a whole slew of Jewish folks talked to me about the choices I was making. They presumed me Jewish because who else eats matzah and gefilte fish and matzo ball soup? Because they presumed me Jewish, they treated me as an insider, as one of their own. I had a deep sense, if only for a few minutes, I had a deep sense of belonging. It was a feeling I've barely glimpsed for months, because most of the places I feel belonging have been closed to me. I share all that, again, only because I suspect this might be the case for you as well. In the time since that moment, I've thought a lot about what really allowed it to happen. I've been curious. I thought a lot about what allowed it to happen because I want it to happen again. And I want it to be able to happen again for all of us. I want all of us to have that experience of deep belonging, and maybe especially with strangers. Maybe especially with strangers. I want us to have these times on both the receiving and the giving end of this kind of exchange. And as I allowed my curiosity to wind its way through that experience, what I found to be true is that it is, in fact, curiosity that made it possible in the first place. I'm curious about religious traditions. I have been since I was a kid. It's a curiosity that has led me, in fact, to knowing what the Pesach Tower even was, why those items were there, and how I knew that I happened to like them. And it was curiosity that had given me the background knowledge to be able to look at those items and make consideration, and when approached by folks who were deep in the know, to be able to have a conversation with them about it. Those folks had no idea. They had no idea that they were fortifying me for the journey. I suspect, as I said last week, they were fortified as well because the connection over material culture, especially that of a religious holiday, must have felt like home for them in that moment. The Pesach Tower, a place to gather safely. A place to gather safely. And they had no idea that I was just a guest in the foyer, not someone who'd typically walk all the way in, take off their shoes, and sit down at the table. It was very nice to be just inside the door. It's very nice. If we let our curiosity become navel gazing, that is, if all we do is learn and learn and learn and never look up from the learning to the people, then we are missing connection. In fact, not only are we missing it, it's possible we're avoiding it. We're missing out on the full generosity of the moment, the full generosity of the moment open to us by the curiosity that led us there. I'm not suggesting that your curiosity leads you to try to learn something new right now. I'm supposing you know a lot of things. I'm encouraging you to trust what you know, to be curious about what you've already learned, and to allow it to be the springboard into common union with neighbors, whoever you are seeing as neighbor just now. And I'm suggesting that you approach those moments not as the epic journey of a pandemic year, but as a limited contract of just this moment. Allow the fruit to be exchanged without having to plan for next season's harvest. Who has the attention span for that just now? Those little acts giving fruit to each other turn out to be tremendously fortifying. Feeling like you have a sense of purpose, it turns out, is not just about the big commitments, but also the small gift exchanges you have with your middle ring friends. Sister Marilyn Lacey wrote a book called This Flowing Toward Me. It's a book I have spoken from on several occasions. The title comes from a poem by Rumi, the Sufi poet, and the poem is printed in the front of the book. I would like you to hear these words. For 60 years, I have been forgetful every moment, but not for a second has this flowing toward me stopped or slowed. I deserve nothing. Today, I recognize that I am the guest the mystics talk about. I play this living music for my host. Everything today is for the host. If you've wondered even for a moment, in the midst of a hardship, where is God in all this? Or if you've wondered about a hardship not your own, where is God in all of that? No, the answer is just here. Just here. That which we call God was just here when I was standing at Costco, talking to nearly half of the strangers I'd spoken to over the course of the last year. Hello, beloved. That which we call God was right here when I received their words, They're small gifts of advice, of shared experience. Hello, beloved. That which we call God is the recipient of the living music that is your life. That which we call God is the recipient of the living music that is your life, and the host for whom Rumi played and for whom you play is everywhere and everyone around you. Everything you do is for that purpose, for the host, the neighbor. Hello, beloved. Hello, beloved. Rumi's poem is only part of the story. It's only part of his story. That which was flowing toward him never stopped or slowed because he refused to receive for himself alone. Hello, beloved. I suspect sometimes that it seems I've meandered all over the page. And so I'm going to nutshell the morning, because I promise we were on the same path all along. It only seems like we were all over the map. This moment, this very moment in the midst of it all, is not an obstacle to overcome, I promise. Not even this moment, or this one, or this one. Settle into the moment and into your curiosity about this moment. And then look up. Look up and look all around you. And what you will recognize is that this flowing toward you has always been flowing toward and through you your entire life. You've simply had to say yes to that flow, to the divine. Hello, beloved. Then as you find those yeses, as it begins to move little by little, you will discover that those little acts, the sharing of fruit, will fortify you for the wonders to come. Hello, beloved. And so it is. Amen.
It's the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. On everyone I meet, I'm gonna let it shine. On everyone I meet, I'm gonna let it shine. Everyone I meet, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. 'Cause this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. In just a moment, we will say together the offering prayer and then sing together and then say together the closing prayer. And as always, I hope you will say those words out loud and sign them right into the space around you, so that that moves through your environment from you. And then at the end of service, we will have breakout rooms. Today is the board meeting, and so the board meeting will start at 11:30. I have to start that Zoom at 11:25, and so today you Don't have to worry about how am I going to get out of that breakout room. I'm just going to end it for you so that the board meeting can start. So this might be the safest Sunday to stay after for the breakout if you're worried about that. And so let's take a breath together. And let us join together for the offering prayer. Creator God, all that I am and all that I have comes from your limitless supply. I am an open and willing conduit through which your good flows. I share all that I have as you direct: love, friendship, prosperity, peace, abundance, and joy are gifts that I share and receive. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God. Amen.
All people are holy. They pass one God. All people are holy. Only love is real. No matter who you are, no matter where you've been, we've gathered together. All people are holy, they crown one God. All bodies are holy, only love is real, only love is real.
May the peace of God go before us into this glorious week, and may the peace remain wherever we have walked. Peace above us and below us. Peace to the right and to the left. Peace within and without. Peace in the face of everyone we meet. Peace in the words to everyone we greet. Amen. Take just a couple of moments to use the chat if you're not going to stay for the breakout rooms. You can address the whole room, or you can click on that little button and choose certain folks if you want to send a private message that says, hey, here's my number, let's talk this week. Otherwise, I'm going to start the process of building those breakout rooms as soon as I say thank you so much for being here on Facebook Live. Blessings on your week.